Good day, dear learners. Hope you are all doing fine. Welcome to today's social studies class. Our topic for today is newcomers bring changes. Now, to start off, let's look at the question: why did the newcomers from Europe come to Namibia? Around the 1800s, the European started to notice Africa and began to come to Africa. Later on, they found Namibia. So picture this: a couple of Europeans, probably some German, some Swedish people, and so on, some English people. They start seeing that maybe their own continent is not what there is. Maybe there are other continents. And after a while, they find Africa. And they are interested in Africa and the things Africa have to offer. Later on, in Africa, they soon discovered or they found Namibia. So they decided, let's go to Namibia and see what we can find there, see what we can do there. There were three types of Europeans, sorry, not four, but three types of Europeans. They were the explorers, they were the traders and hunters, and then there were the missionaries. Now let's look at the explorers. What are explorers? Explorers are people who go into a place and discover new things. Explorers explore. The explorers were people who wanted to learn more about Africa. Travelers called the explorers came to find out the new places. One example was Charles John Anderson, who was an explorer from Sweden. He traveled around Namibia and wrote about it. So this explorer decided, let me go to Namibia, let me leave my country, let me travel Namibia. And after he saw the beautiful things that Namibia had and so on, the people, its culture, he then proceeded to write about them. The explorers were interested in Namibian natural resources and farmland. They were interested in the resources Namibia had to give and the farmland we had. Remember that most or a large group of people were pastoralists, they were herders, and we spoke about them in our previous class. So they really had land. We as a nation always had land. Namibia always had land for herders and for agriculture. They kept diaries, drew maps and pictures and sent it back to their countries, to their queens and kings. So they didn't only write about Namibia for their personal use, but they also wrote it to give feedback. Just like how Miss Luango gives you a classwork and then you give feedback of the classwork you gave. You do the classwork and then you show Miss Luango, this is what I did. The explorers did the same. They were sent to search the land, to study the resources and all that it could offer. And after they finished researching, they would write about it, draw about it, and then send it back to the source, their country, their kings, their queens, and so on. Now let's look at another type, which were the traders and hunters. For me personally, I think these were the worst of the Europeans to come to Namibia because they really wanted to take advantage of the people and use our resources. European traders also came to Namibia. They wanted livestock as cattle, sheep, goats, and ostriches feathers from the Namibian communities. They gave us guns, we gave them livestock. Now imagine how unfair of a trade this was. I give you 10 cows for a gun. Those 10 cows can reproduce animals, then they can reproduce until maybe they reach maybe, let's say, 50 or 70 in time. So you have more than 5 times the amount that I gave you. But a gun can simply stop working at a time. Those cows and their products, you can then open a big farm, maybe even milk them and sell the milk, or even sell some of the cows to get extra cash. But a gun, you can do nothing with it. Yes, they could use it to fight wars and stuff, but after a while the gun stopped working. The hunters shot wild animals for their skin and elephants for their tusks. Imagine, without any control, other people's lands, you just go with your gun and you shoot the animals and you take their skin, and also the elephants, you take their tusks, which will make you a lot of money. And the own people that you took this animal from will not see that money. Ships from Europe and America came to catch whales off the coast of Namibia. So they only didn't check the land and make use of the land, but they also made use of our seas, our oceans. They bought land and traded their their products, naming some of the land after them. An example of this is Luderitz. Luderitz, it was named after a European trader named Luderitz. So he bought the land from a Nama chief at that time, and he named the land Luderitz. And there he sold his stuff and made money out of it, maybe more money than he bought the land at first. We can be sure that it was thousands compared to the money he bought the land. Now, they were very, very greedy, these traders, and they made sure that they got all the profits, and they managed to take almost all the resources from the people. The missionaries, I would say, were the ones that, from all the different types of Europeans that came to Africa and Namibia, they tried to help the Namibian people a bit compared to the others. The missionaries from Europe came to Namibia. They were from Great Britain, Germany, and Finland. Missionaries were people who wanted to teach others about God. They taught others about God, and they also wrote the Bible in Namibian languages. So they knew that not every Namibian understood English. So what they did is they wrote the Bible in Namibian languages. They built churches and schools. They taught people how to read so that they could read the Bible. So them building churches and schools meant that our Namibian people could get a religious education, and that they could get a education that we are having now, that you as grade 4 learners are having now. You are learning how to read in English, write, and so on. So at least Namibian students had both that religion education and the other forms of education that you get in a day-to-day school. And this education not only taught them how to read the Bible, but with this new information, they could use it to learn other things. And later on, even this education helped Namibians to acquire our independence. I hope you understood this lesson. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Looking forward to our next lesson.